Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion and review where the hosts of the What You Say Anime podcast nominate and vote on shows either we haven't seen or shows that hopefully lead to a great discussion. On today's episode, the White Hairs of the What You Say Anime podcast will be reviewing the 2021 anime 86 Season 1. Let's meet today's pilots. First up, his favorite Zed song is The Middle. We got Kat. Kat, how's it going?
Doing great. It actually is my favorite Zed song, if I'm being honest.
I get it. I know two Zed songs, so that's one of them. So
is that a joke about him being half white and half not? Like, or like being in the middle?
Maybe you'll see by the next one. Our first moderator tonight, his favorite CBS sitcom of all time is The Middle. We got Miles. Miles, how's it going?
Yeah, this is...
Tried to give you some credit, Pete, for some creativity here, but
this
guess
is
not.
very creative. What are you talking about, Patrick?
This is completely unrelated to what Pete is doing, but while I love The Middle, I also love low-hanging fruit.
Me too. I did have a write-up for Jay, but since he couldn't make it, Pat, you don't get it. His favorite Jimmy Eat World song is, you guessed it, The Middle. We got Pat.
Oh, okay.
That's the it just takes some time. Yeah, that one. All right, I actually know that
Girl,
one, so that's probably my favorite one.
Anyways.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. We better stop before we get copy striked, you know.
We're not going to get copy strike.
Oh no, we will. We're very good singers.
Yes.
We're very good singers.
No, we're not.
Yo, shut up.
All right. I tried to give you credit, Pete. All right. Because we're watching Mid this week, guys. That's where all these middle jokes are coming from. We watched 86, also known as 86. We watched just the first part. On Mal, it's an 8.31, and it's a spring 2021 anime done by A1 Pictures, sourced from a light novel with action, drama, mecha, military, and sci-fi themes and genres. So yeah, let's do our first impressions like we always do. Miles, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so this is my second time watching 86. I first watched it at some point relatively close to when it came out. I think to like, sometimes Pat will message me and be like, we need you as like a rubber vote for things. And so I'll watch them and I'll either agree with Pat or usually Pete, who are the dueling sides. And this time I was less of a rubber vote and more of a, I get both sides argument. So, you know, I enjoy it. I think there are good things about the show. There are issues that I have with the show. I don't think it's like impeccably made in all aspects by any chance, but I definitely think certain aspects of it absolutely stand out and are good. And I think I would recommend it generally. I think that, one, a lot of people seem to like it, which is good. You know, it's pretty digestible, relatable, maybe to its detriment at some points, in my opinion, but also, you know, that's not a bad thing. And then it does have, you know, good characters, a good dub. There's just lots of good accessibility things about it. So I would say give it a go. And, you know, I don't think I've seen many people who like despise it or anything. So it's probably worth a watch, and it'll probably get more content. So it can be something that you're keeping up with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So at the time of this recording, at least, there's one first season, or part one of the first season, and part two of the second one that aired about a few years later, or a few years ago as well. I think at this point we're getting to that point. Kat, what about you? What do you think?
So let me start off by saying I liked a couple of things about the show, but overall, especially first impressions, my first impressions are summed up by Cards Against Humanity, White Card. Abraham Lincoln, God King of the Free Peoples. This show is white saviorism, the anime. I like the main character of the show. I really don't like her. For at least the most part, at least the first part of the show. And I would honestly not recommend it.
Okay. Fair enough. I think we'll probably talk about that first then, I think, because it's right at the beginning of the show, and I have some counterpoints for you. But yeah, all right, Pete, what about you?
So diving into this show, the first time that it aired, this is one of these shows where I don't think it was on a lot of people's radars. And then people were like, oh my God, you need to watch 86. This show is so good. I've never seen anything like it. I was like, okay, it wasn't on my plan to watch, but you know, I'll check it. And I remember watching it and watching the entire way through. I'm just like, yeah, that was fine. And then on my rewatch, I was like, oh man, I wonder if I'm gonna hate this more than I did before. If I'm gonna be a little bit more nitpicky, because the running joke is I always call this 43 because I think it's kind of mid, but like I don't think it's necessarily bad. And then I rewatched the show and I was like, yeah, that was alright. Like, it's fine. Like I really don't have like a lot of qualms with this. First impressions though, like with this show, I think it's set up done pretty well, like a typical mech political drama that you would see in like a Gundam or a Code Geass or something along those lines, where good guy versus bad guy and robots type of thing. And like I was on board with that because I do like these styles of shows, but when we dive more into it, I do have my qualms with sort of how some of the things are handled. What I recommend is most people like this show in general. So I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum because I don't think that this show does anything like inherently bad, like something like Attack on Titan that I think does in terms of like the military drama. I don't think the show does that, but I also don't think it does anything like good or stand out. Like I don't think 86 does one thing of a political war drama better than say another staple of the genre. So I think I would still recommend it. I think the show has like good characters and a good soundtrack and animation and stuff like that, where I think it would draw a lot of people's attention. So I think for the most part, I would recommend the show.
Yeah. All right. And yeah, I love this show when it was airing. I was watching it every week, weekly. One of my favorite shows to come out in the last couple of years. Shout out Kat for nominating this. Saw that going off in the chat. So it's pretty funny that he doesn't love it or didn't love. Well, it's not that you don't love the show. You just don't love Lena, the heroine of this
We'll get into that
show. Yeah, exactly. I think what I really like about this show is that it for me at least, most of the slice of life moments that happen in the show, and there are quite a few of them, I really enjoyed because they served a purpose, and it does a good balance of keeping things dramatic while also still having some comedy, some like character development, all sorts of things, like I guess drama that can happen during drama, but like there's multiple different ways that these characters are developed rather than just through pain, suffering, etc., which tends to be what happens in wartime dramas, especially in maybe more so in American TV than in the Japanese mediums. But I adore the show. I love it. I would recommend it to almost anyone as well because I think it's a really good starter anime, or one of the first few anime that you could watch. There's not too many LOL anime kind of moments, like ridiculous screenshots, panty shots, whatever bullshit like that.
Yeah, there's just the shower scene. There's like one shower scene that's like a little
much. Yeah,
it's not bad at all, especially considering the medium.
What we've seen, and it's also rated R. So like this, in the same way that like I don't know, Shogun has some very uncomfortable nude scenes in it too, but like that show is great. Shout out Shogun, fucking love that show. I also think though too, it has a little bit of everything from drama to a little bit of the slice of life. Not so much romance in this season, but it's hinted at and it's drawn towards. There's a lot of different aspects that I think almost anyone would like. And like the others have said so far, even our naysayers on the show aren't like, oh, I hated this show. Like, I think that's a good sign for a good starter anime. So I'd recommend this to almost anybody that I can meet. And I have done that since it came out. So yeah, I guess let's get into our spoilers. It is a pretty spoiler heavy show, so be warned. Yeah, Miles, do you want to do a quick synopsis before we get into our talking points, or a quick little setup, or do you not have one?
I gotcha. So we start off in the Republic of San Magnolia, which is a country that, in the belief of the people, we will learn very shortly that there's like an absolutely absurd amount of propaganda happening, is like the last remnants of humanity, at least locally within their like borders, and they are fighting an autonomous army that they call the Legion, I believe. That's like our first thing. So then we hear like a news report about how their own autonomous army, was like scoring victories and there's no casualties and everything. And so, that's tipping you off that something's wrong here, probably. You learn that this autonomous army that the Republic we're in is actually manned by people known as the 86, which is basically everyone who wasn't from that country, who didn't have the visual, like the hair, eye karyotype of like silver hair and blue eyes, was sort of put into a ghetto-ish district and forced to live there, and with military service was allowed to be removed, but they're also not considered people, which is like why there isn't that sort of deal. So we're following, I guess, someone who is like, her name is Lena Milize, and she is like a newish commander of like an 86 unit. They're commanded remotely. She has like an uncle who's very high up in the military. Her parents were important people, but have since deceased. And so we sort of go through her journey of becoming commander of the Spearhead Squadron, which is sort of like a notorious group of these 86 people that are hard to handle or whatever. And so the bond she forms with them and what she learns about their plight through being their handler is the general journey we are taking through here. We also have high focus on Shin, the leader of the Spearhead Squadron, and his, I guess, brothers and sisters in arms. So we follow the 86 division pretty closely as well. So it's sort of a split between these two perspectives with them occasionally melding. And then she has a scientist friend who's like the worst human.
She gets better, I think.
Oh,
She's pretty awesome.
No, not by herself.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know. That's not not what I said. I didn't say she got better by herself, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, she does the right thing in the way that someone who has a gun held to their head and is forced to do the right thing does the right thing.
Yeah.
I think she reflects, but fair enough. We can talk about that
I haven't
later.
seen season 2, so we can get to it.
I think she reflects in season 1. So,
no, she doesn't.
Yeah, she does. Like the very last scene with her, she is very clearly upset by herself and the actions that she has led, as she has done, and reflects on it. And in the end, the whole point of that scene too, in the first place, was that she was not proud of the way she was carrying herself. She was just a good soldier following orders. Like, you know, like
that makes her worse for me. Like her.
Yeah,
her knowing how bad. We can get into it later.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start at the beginning. So one of the first scenes is Millie giving a talk at a college where she's like explaining to some students that like the 86 are like actually people. They're not like subhuman. And then like the professor is like very like And Kat, I guess you're the one who has these specific issues with Lena. So if you want to like highlight them or whatever, that would be great.
But yeah, like, so my issue with Lena is that when we first see her, she's talking about how the 86 are people, and she's talking about how all of the stuff that they've heard thus far has been propaganda. But later in this episode, we hear her talking to some of the other squadron, like the other squadron that she was managing. And she was talking about how, like, you know, hey, I'm sorry about the people that we've lost. And you hear the person on the other side go, thank you for your so kind words. And I feel like that is basically, it's sarcasm being shoved in her face, because like, they really don't feel like vindicated by her like quote unquote kind words. And then we move on to her being with the Spearhead Squadron, and nobody's really reacting that well to her. They seem like they are, but like that's just them, you know, being performative for her. She then like continually calls and feels, and you can see that she feels like she's being this great person throughout the first few episodes. And at episode 4, that's when people just say, no, just because you're being nice to us does not mean that you're a great person. It doesn't mean you're a freedom fighter. You aren't taking any risks. We're all dying out here because you don't understand that these people that you're talking to are actually people. You just think you understand the prospect of it, but you're not acting like it. And that is basically the textbook definition of white saviorism. It's one of the reasons why she grinds my gears for like up till I think the 6th episode, because a lot of the things that she's doing, especially in the first episode at the end, like she's talking to her friend and her friend's like, was that a smart idea? And she's like, yeah, my uncle's a general. I'm not going to face anything, which the point of protesting is knowing that you're going to get into trouble, because basically, like the former senator said, you need to get into trouble, the right trouble, the good trouble. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing enough, especially if you are, as from what we've seen, one of the only people that's trying to change things. Like, that's my biggest issue throughout the first part of this show.
Pat,
like, so you have a problem with the show, but like the show, you're feeling the way the show is trying to make you feel, in my humble opinion, at least. I think that the show is intentionally pointing out the fact, like that's what the whole point of that scene where, you'd even ask her our names. The show is trying to point out that even though you may like Lena as a character so far, she didn't do the most. She isn't actually fighting and dying on the battlefield. I think that's the whole point of those first few episodes, and then that culminating scene before you start to like her. So like I don't think the show is expecting you to like her up until that point, beyond like a surface level, oh, she's funny, she's smart, she's charismatic, whatever like that. So I don't see how that's a knock on the show, I guess, is my question back.
So the reason why that's a knock on the show for me personally is because, first of all, and this goes into a little bit of my issue with the exposition of the show. Like, I feel like the exposition in the first few episodes could have been done better to highlight her basically lack of intelligence of the situation. But she is like, you should know that something is going on when you could tell that people are not reacting to you well, especially throughout the first 3 episodes. Like, she's been with them for at least a month at this point. And they have said some things that have been like, hey, like, you don't need to be close to us. You don't need, like, these should be whistles. These should be red flags about what's going on here. Why are these people treating me like within arm's length? And that is like, that just rings to her being not really that smart when it comes to the people that she's managing.
could I ask you a question about that, Kat?
Sure.
Because that point I generally agree with. I think that one of my issues I have with the show and Lena is that she's kind of very oblivious to things that I think should be able to be intuited. And I mean, Penrose even says as much, like, oh my God, Lena, you're so stupid, like, get with the program.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe she's just like dumbly optimistic or whatever.
Mhm.
And I 1,000%, I think, as Pat does, that she comes off as like holier than thou white saviory at the start, but then realizes the flaw in that and then tries to correct course. So I guess my question for you would be like, is your problem with it that she ever was acting like a white savior, and then, or is it just that she is so oblivious of the fact of what she was doing until it's like pointed out to her that make, you know what I mean? Like the difference between those two things?
Yeah, my biggest issue for it is that it's that she is so oblivious to it, and she's so oblivious to it that she has to be pointed out. That it has to be pointed out, like you said, which is like, you're literally a general. You are obviously extremely smart. You obviously have been with enough people and know enough to deal with people as a profession. Like, not just like processors, which are which, by the way, are the slaves essentially, or the oppressed in this situation. But also like the other people around you, the other commanding officers in this, like this should just click with you at least at some level, in my opinion.
I guess, like, I don't know. For one, she's a major, which is way below a general in the military. So, like, most of the time when she learns stuff that is relevant to the fact that the 86 are not. So she is very clearly aware at the beginning that 86 are human, not just these AI piloted drones, which,
Right.
like, she can't, like, as the show illustrates, she can't really do anything about. There's nothing that she can do there on that front. But then, especially after she, like I don't know, like, expecting a major to be, I think, to know all of these little nitty gritty details. The whole point is that she's the youngest to ever reach major, and then she gets assigned a squadron. You don't. This happens with commanding officers and officers all the time. It happened a lot in the Vietnam War. Guys would come from West Point to command soldiers that were in Vietnam for 2 years at this point. Had done 2 tours already. And we're saying, well, we should do this because this is what my textbook said. And then the soldiers would say, no, this is really dumb. You need to, like, because X, Y, or Z, or it's not like regular warfare, it's guerrilla warfare or whatever. I think that that's what happens in the show many, many times. And she learns from it. Like, oh, hey, let me give you battle coordinates or commands. Wait, don't do that because it gives us the radio waves can be intercepted. So please stick with like verbal commands or whatever it was. What would really help us is maps. So she looks and goes and tries to find the maps, the old maps or the terrain or whatever. Like I think that there are aspects where she gets shown that she doesn't know everything and doesn't think that she knows everything, at least especially after she gets humbled the first time, and then continues to try to change and get better or be the commanding officer that she wants to be, or major. That is her responsibility. That's the way I looked at it, at least. And I think it pretty accurately represents what happens in the military a lot of the times too, because like people, it's very well documented in history, at least from my aspect.
And before Kat replies really quick, Pete, do you have any thoughts on this general topic?
I think you are both right in a sense. I think I kind of agree with what Kat is saying in a sense, but I also think the show is supposed to be displaying this on purpose. I think we're supposed to be seeing the ignorance of her character because, like, yeah, she's a major, but like, I think we just later, but like one of my biggest issues with it is like she's like 17 years old or some shit. Like she's a nepo baby. Like,
yeah,
like she's like, would a 17-year-old major make a bunch of fucking mistakes in military stuff? Yeah, and we see that. So I guess I'm in a sense I kind of like agree with both takes, but I think I lean more on the side of the show is showing it to display her character in her ignorance as her role as a major.
Yeah.
And Kat, I guess a question for you would be like, if a show were to try to, which I think you could probably at least agree that the show is attempting to do.
It is.
Yeah, like show someone trying to, be like the equivalent of like a white savior here, a silver-haired savior.
Yeah.
And learning that lesson, right? How would you want that handled differently?
Specifically when it comes to the first part of the show, and this goes into like a little bit of the world building, like because she is so loudly like proclaiming a lot of this, typically in like, because I mean, let's be real here, like this is basically an allegory for Germany in the 1930s. Like this is obviously like pointing directly at World War II issues.
Really. Well, yeah, okay. So I just would want to really quick, and I'm going to let you continue, but there's a few different World War II issues that this like very directly points to. Most obvious one, of course, is the Holocaust. The order that put all the 86 into District 86 is just the inverted one of the federal order that Roosevelt signed to intern the Japanese, for example. And there are possibly other things that I am missing, but it while the Holocaust one is like very obvious and apparent, there are other historical acts of prejudice that it is mimicking as well. Now continue. Sorry.
So one of my main issues with 86, specifically in the world building, is that there has to be more people that are against this, that are against the oppression. Specifically because I believe that people are generally good and want people to be at least more equal. They don't want to see atrocities. And when people, like, as we see with Lena's best friend, like Lena's best friend saw these people get taken out of her district and get put in 86. And there has to be more people that feel the same way as Lena and would want to seek her out. Specifically in the example of 86, there has to be more people that are willing to talk to Lena, because the people that talk to Lena don't really get like reprimanded, as we see. Like nobody gets consequences just for talking to somebody who's loudly proclaiming that these people should have rights and these people are human. Also, if that is the case, you need to build out the point that either there are reprimandations for, or I think that's the word. There are consequences to talking to this person. Like,
she does get reprimanded though, and the whole point is that she, like you guys said, like her being a nepo baby saves her from actually facing repercussions from speaking up like this in to the classroom full of students. And I guess just to counter, I think your other point too, I think this like Miles mentioned, this is a direct allegory for what was happening in Germany, which, keep in mind, in Germany, the people in homeland Germany turned a blind eye to what was happening because they saw that they were winning. They thought they were winning. The people of the Republic of San Magnolia are propagandized into thinking that they are winning, not only because of what they know, but also because they think that the Legion is going to shut down within 2 years. So they just have to survive those next 2 years, and then they'll win the war automatically. That is what is thought, and that's what's thought by the military too. I'm 99% sure that the military doesn't know what we find out later on, that obviously the robots can last longer than 2 years, because that's why the show continues. But that whole aspect as well, like the military, think about what the SS officers thought during Blitzkrieg when they were taking Netherlands, Belgium, and then France without any resistance. Those people would not, and they're shown in the 86 to just be goofing off because they're saying, oh, the war's going to end soon anyways, we're fine, it'll all be over soon, we'll be back to normal. Like that. And I agree with you, Kat, that it would have been nice to see some protesters or some sort of like aspect towards a resistance towards the leading empire, or the to the Republic San Magnolia, Republic of San Magnolia. Yeah, Republic. But it's, I don't know how that would really, I guess, change any of the outcomes of what happened. And people who fought for the Jews in World War II in Germany, especially before they started to run out of resources, they didn't live very long. They were not seen in public. They were never shown to exist and documented in history because they were not allowed to do so. So I do understand your point of view, though. I do. I just think that the show is using exactly what happened in World War II in Germany in the 1930s and in the build up to Blitzkrieg and then the eventual Second World War, and is illustrating that, I think, pretty well from historical documentation, at least.
Well, the thing is that, yes, the point isn't that they didn't last long. The point is that they existed. That's my issue. Because the point of that is that so for me, I need people to know that this is existing. And if the whole of if the whole of society is saying that these people don't have rights, and there are people that are trying to fight for these rights, I need people to outwardly reject them, and not just Lise. I need people that feel the same way, that are in the quote unquote like the majority, to feel differently instead of just being a hive mind, because we know that there are going to be people that disagree with the majority. It's happened all throughout history, regardless of whether or not they die very quickly or whether they get silenced very quickly. They need to exist.
I'm somewhere in the middle between both of you, because while I agree, I think that this is like a representation of what happened in World War II, but like the pure fact that there's like no actual resistance, knowing that the 86 existed prior, I think is I would say it's like a minor issue. So kind of like what I would have loved to see in this style of show is some form of like resistance group doing something in the dark, like whether it's like smuggling supplies to the 86, because we know the 86 is not super far away from where they are. Like I think it's possible to have some form of group sort of behind the scenes doing something to aid in the aid of the 86, but at the same time be a resistance to what's happening in like the capital. And that's like, if you've seen The Last of Us, where like they're in like the city, and there's kind of like I'll call them like a terrorist group. I don't know what you would call them, but they kind of have that like, in the shadows, we're trying to help the community, but we're against the authority. And I think something like that, where if we're doing like a World War II thing with like something like Schindler's List or something like that, where they are doing something along the lines of aiding the 86 while being inside of the capital, I think would have been a really cool feature to the show.
Is Lena not Schindler? Like,
no,
what?
Not even close.
Like the most that she smuggles is fireworks.
Yeah, she sends them like military grade bombs, but like that's not. She's aiding in the war for the 86. It's not. She's one person. Like, don't get like. Is she helping the 86? Yes. Like, she is doing something to better them than say another major would. But like,
it's hard to make a direct.
Schindler was aiding the war effort too. Well, like the Nazi war effort.
I think it's like you're comparing like, you know, somebody who saved thousands of lives to somebody who gave them some candy for Halloween. Like, here you go, I'm helping you. Like that's how I view like those two people.
She gave them maps that they didn't have before.
That's her job.
Instruction. No, that wasn't her job. Her job was to send them to die. Her job was to send them to die so that they would eventually be wiped out. And she does not do that. She tries to keep them alive more than any of the other.
Her job is to command them. She's the major of the squadron. Like
I get what you guys are saying about like having more people.
I just think it's. I know what you're trying to say. I just think it's preposterous to say that she is the same level as Schindler. I just think that's a very terrible comparison. I think she's more along the lines of, I don't know, somebody who donates to relief funds or something like that. Like, yeah, you're helping, but like you're not like on the ground, you know, sending. Like you're not like a first aid, you're not like a Red Cross nurse in the front lines of something.
If Schindler had gotten caught, he would have literally been executed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not just one person. I want to see like, because we know there are people inside of this world that knew the 86 existed prior to this, and that they know that they are real, and that they don't do anything with that knowledge other than sort of accept it, which is where I agree with you, Pat, as well, with the same thing. This doesn't sound crazy, but I compared it to like the glass ceiling, where like we know it exists, but are you willing to give up what your life is right now in order to like better people? And so what I was thinking is like the people that do know that the 86 are fighting on the front lines, they're not going to give up their freedom to go help the 86. Like, they're not willing to make the sacrifice that they are because their life is great. And that's like the same thing with like a glass ceiling, where like you wouldn't reduce your salary to pay women more because it shouldn't be my fault type of thing. And yeah, so that's kind of where I'm on like both sides, where I would like to see some form of middle ground in this show, especially with the representation of war and having that element already exist in real life. And we're obviously drawing comparisons to it.
I got one more last thing about Lise. specifically for Lise in a different show, I would like the main character who is trying to be helpful to be more wise, intelligent, be able to pick up on things quicker instead of just getting that pointed out to them. If you understand that the government is lying to you, you have to understand that there's got to be something else that they're lying about instead of just knowing that they're, human. That's for me.
So really, I don't know, and this is not trying to be like loaded or anything, but do you not find that there is value in someone like Lise and overall, I agree with you. I think she is bizarrely ignorant of what's going on, because she isn't blocking stuff out. She is trying to pick up on this stuff. But do you think that there's value in the fact that she learns all of this stuff, not by her own intuition and power, but from the experiences of the oppressed group and them explaining this to her and explaining that? You know what I mean?
I feel like, yes, as a show, just trying to point out like propaganda and like having that be a point of like, this is the way, like, in order to understand the plights of people, you have to talk to the people that are being plighted. But at the same time, I feel like there has to be a middle ground where you have to have some semblance of understanding. Like, you have to pick up some things by yourself. Like, that's my issue. Like,
that's fair. Yeah, like maybe they start her off and then she intuits things instead of being fed everything. Right. I could definitely agree with that. I just think it's like a slightly different flaw in my opinion. And we talked about this pre-show, but flaw in my opinion that she has. But there's more to the show than just her. So let's talk about the Spearhead Squadron and what we think of them, because I think we're going to have some differing opinions on that too. So our group primarily consists of 5 people at the end.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
5,
so
yes.
Yeah. So
you count the robot dog as a person?
No, they die.
Do they? Do they?
I don't know.
Does the dog come back in season 2?
Do they?
I don't know, Miles. You haven't watched. Wait, you haven't watched?
I'll raise my.
I've not watched it. I will.
You haven't
drop
watched
my
season
score.
2 yet? What the hell?
Yeah,
it's a robot. Of course,
it
comes
twice
back
already.
It's a robot. Of course, it comes back. What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. You take a you I don't know. You replace a mother. It's just ship of Theseus. I don't know. The robot comes back.
Exploded.
That's what you think.
Did it, Miles?
Okay, fair enough. Okay, guys, 86 got me.
Gotcha.
It got me. It tricked me.
It's a good show.
Yeah, I'm lowering its score. I fucking hate fake out deaths. I'm not actually lowering its score because of that. Anyways, so there is a squad of about 5 people. It starts at about 7 or so, but pretty early on we get some quick deaths. And their leader is Shin. He has sort of a first lieutenant whose name is Raiden, which is pretty cool. And then there's like Theo, Anju, and the small child. I don't remember her name, the red-haired one.
Karena.
Okay, yeah. And so they sort of have like an interesting family dynamic. We see them fighting together. We see their leadership dynamic, which is pretty interesting, where Shin is definitely like the leader, but he is almost a more hands-off leader, with like Raiden taking more of the hands-on approach and like Shin sort of doing like a leading by example type of thing, which I thought was interesting. And so I guess I would just, give the floor. What did you guys think of them? What did you think about their interpersonal interactions? You can bring up the people who got murked too, if you so desire. And their interactions with Lena and all of that. Kat, you have signaled you would like to go first, so let's jump to you.
I would like to start off with the fact that this show has one dark-skinned character and they get murked in the first episode. They are the first person to get killed.
The horror movie.
Like that's my biggest gripe in horror movies. So, yeah. But overall, I don't feel... With Shin, I feel like... Honestly, with the main group, I feel a very big connection to Iron-Blooded Orphans in a way. Because, I mean, like, the main character is, like, or the main guy in the 86, or in the Spearhead Squadron, is a quiet, like, smart type. And then the supporting dude is this dude with, like, even the purple hair and the hair that goes down over his eye. Like, that's kind of on the nose. Like,
okay, so not to Shin is so much more normal than Mikazuki, who is a psychopath.
that's true.
Like, Shin's a human, and Mikazuki's like, Gundam go smash. Do you want peace? Gundam go smash. It's like, will I get to kill people if we fight for peace? Okay. Gundam go smash.
That's fair. It just feels very similar to me.
Shin's reading It's All Quiet on the Western Front. I can't ever see Mikazuki doing that.
That's
He reads War and Peace as well. He reads a lot of books.
He does. Mein Kampf.
Oh yeah? Did he really?
Yeah. He
No,
does.
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
That's I don't know if it's in the show. It's in the light novel. The lady, I think it's the lady who wrote it. Is it a man who wrote it? I don't know why I think it's a woman. The person who wrote it has him read the books that they read for research.
It is a woman.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense when you look at what books he read. There you go.
And I think she said my favorite one was Mein Kampf. I really like this book. I think she said that. She didn't really say that. I'm just
Hey.
I could see finding it interesting.
Yeah, I from like a very
cat. Come on,
like a morbid perspective, I suppose.
Just getting behind the minds of it. I don't know. People watch To Catch a Predator all the time. You know, like they people want to see what's going on inside those people's heads. Like,
so Pete, what did you think about the Spearhead Squadron?
Well, I kind of want to go last. I kind of want to transition into something like
right,
part of because I think they match a tone of something that I didn't like in the show.
All right, I'll go next. I guess then. I love the Spearhead Squadron. I think that they do a really good job of showing their bonds not only in battle but in their slice of life moments that happen throughout the show or in their dialogue with each other. They clearly have a lot of respect, love, and compassion for each other. I think that they nail the whole we're a suicide squad, we're a squadron, like, I don't know, just war movie classic, like, here's the group of people kind of like vibes. I think that they nail that in this show really well. And I love that we get to see them struggle with loss and struggle with what to say to Lena, and then their relationship with Lena. I love how it changes over time as well. I think it makes sense that they are cold to her at first and then slowly open up to her. And I think that the second season, or the part 2 of season 1, I think technically is what it is, goes further down that road. And I think it continues to do that excellently.
I'll be really quick. I think I'll want to respond to what you're going to say, but I just have like a really quick point about this. How come everyone wants to fuck Shin and no one wants to fuck Raiden? Raiden's hotter.
That's a good point.
Honestly, someone should want to fuck Raiden. That's all I'm saying. Pete, go ahead.
No, okay. So, like, I think on paper, I like 4 of the 5 squadron people. The one person that I do not like at all is Karina, and I think
I like Karina.
So with the squadron, it's sort of my biggest gripe with the show is that when it's not the military battle, it feels like a high school drama. Like, oh, I hope the cute boy likes me. Ooh, woo, woo, senpai, that type of shit. Like, that's what I don't like with this show at all. And that's kind of what the Karina character, to me, I feel like pulls me away from more, because in a sense they're supposed to be dehumanized a little bit from the fogs of war, and like all their friends and all their family have been killed, and like it's whatever. Like, okay, I guess Pat mentioned a suicide squad. I think that's a good way to determine it. Like, they're a band of, there's a group, and if they die, they die. It's whatever. But then at the same point, it's like, I'm afraid to talk to Shin. Oh, it's like the live like you're going to die tomorrow type of mentality. To me, didn't feel like any of them really resonated with that, and like take the risk. Where if you knew that you were going to die tomorrow, wouldn't you want to say the things you wanted to say? Wouldn't you want to do the things you wanted to do? And some of those characters to me like really didn't handle that well, and to me that like ruined the slice of life elements of the show, because when you see, this is gonna be completely different, but hopefully you like catch my drift with like something like Saving Private Ryan, when they're not in war, they're sitting around their canteens, like eating food and talking about like their dreams and like what they're going to do with it going on later. And like, to me, that's like a more realistic take of like what they're going to do after the war. This is like, they're on a death wish. So like, they don't have dreams. They don't have futures going forward. So why not do the things you wanted to do or say the things you wanted to say before you can? Because like, that's like a huge thing with them. And like, I feel like it's never expressed.
Yeah.
And to me, like that took
mind?
away.
Okay.
May I counter just with a real quick, like one liner
go ahead. Yeah.
before you counter? I'm assuming like they're high schoolers. That's the, you know, like they are, they're high schoolers and they're dumb. And, and I guess just in general. So it's more than one line. Like people chicken out of telling people chicken out of saying their real feelings before they, like, all the time, and like they don't know that they're gonna die tomorrow. They just know they're gonna eventually die, or that's their mentality.
I feel like when you see the family, there's hundreds of people in like pictures, and now they're down to 5. Like the odds of you living the next battle is so slim that, to me, I wanted to see the element of like drama. That's where they could elevate the element of drama in the show. And also, you mentioned it, I think the fact that they're high schoolers is really stupid. Like, I feel like this show would have been significantly better if they were older. I think that's another place where the drama could have been elevated with, like, how they handle situations better. That's another thing where, like, because they're high schoolers, it was, like, you said you guys have all seen Code Geass. I have the same issue with Code Geass, where it's like, I'm Lelouch, I'm going to take over the world, but I have a paper due tomorrow, so now I have to go to school. It's like, okay, that's really dumb when you're fighting your father who is like a god. And then this is like the same thing where it's like, hey, we're going to go out to battle and fight all these non-human robots and we might die tomorrow, but I hope Shin Senpai notices me. It's just like, that's what draws me away from it.
But the reason why is because all of the older men were killed. That was a big plot point with the older brother saying like, oh, our parents are dead. Now they're coming for me. It's very similar to that poem. Oh, they came for the Jews, and then
I just think it's dumb. Like, of all the older adult people are dead, like, come on. Like,
well, so what happened? It's a Suicide Squad, as you mentioned. You are not forced to be an 86, i.e., in the military aspect of it, right? It is a voluntary sign up.
Yes.
So the people who are older, who have less life to live, are not incentivized to do it because at this point, you know, they just want to live out the rest of their lives instead of like, they have less to gain from the potential 5-year freedom than the younger people do, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It's a vibe. Like, would you, if you are having a military themed show, do you want high schoolers being your main cast? And to me, the answer is no. Like, I don't prefer it in this sense. Where
I think that's perfectly fair.
Yeah, so that's where it loses me. Where, okay, what you said, 100%. Logically, they explained that in the show. I just forgot. It's whatever. But it's still like the vibe of it being, they're not in high school, but it feels like they're in high school when they're not fighting people. And that draws me out of the show.
Does that not make it more tragic?
No. It makes it more tragic. I think
it makes it extremely tragic that's their situation.
I mean, if they're like child soldiers in like Vietnam, like you mentioned, or something like that, then sure. But like, I don't think the parallels are the same.
Is that not what they are? Are they not?
I mean, they're child soldiers, but I think the circumstances are very different.
I don't.
Well, they're a little different. It's a bit weird because, like, in this scenario, they're both the draftees and the Vietnamese that we're attacking. Like, it's a little, you know, you can't draw, and I don't have a problem with this. You just can't draw a 1-to-1 parallel with anything in history because the show is set up uniquely. Yeah. I guess what I would say is that, and I guess you don't necessarily disagree with this, Pete, but if these people were going to be high schoolers, I am glad that they did it this way to show them being high schoolers, because I think the humanization aspect is important when you're showing these people be weapons. Now, would it be cooler if you had some adults mixed in too, and you could have other drama and it wasn't entirely this high school drama, right? I think I can agree with that. I think I would like that more. Am I going to blame the 15-year-old girl for being too shy to tell her commanding officer that she has a crush on him? No, I don't think I'm going to do that.
I agree. Like, I don't have an issue with a 15-year-old having a hard time confessing to Shin Senpai. I have an issue with the context of the show where at any given moment they could die the next day type of thing, and they see all their loved ones around them getting killed, and it's just like the biggest concern that is on your mind right now is whether or not I tell Shin my feelings. To me, I think that's dumb.
I don't think it's the biggest concern that she has.
Well, they make it such a big focal point in the show. Like it happens like 3 times where like she's like when they're bathing in the river. I think when they're talking in the shower they do it, and then like I think there's another scene, but it's like it's brought up multiple
times. She says
times.
It to the dog when we're viewing
but
the
like
dogs.
It's not like it's not like it happens once in passing. It is something that is brought up multiple times in the show. It's the same thing in episode 4 with Daya and Anju and stuff like that. It's like they do that on purpose because they want it to feel like a high school drama. Like that's what it's for.
I just think that's normal though. I think that would be normal in this scenario.
I think it'd be normal if they weren't fighting giant fucking mechs in a giant spider mech.
But I mean, military contingents have a ton of interpersonal drama. Like that's massive.
Yes. I'm not saying that it doesn't have drama. I'm saying it's how it's framed in the show to me feels like a high school drama and not like a war zone and die in any moment type of thing. I think the tone of the show itself does a poor job at handling the characters in the settings that they have.
Do you think Shin acts like, because I would say Shin acts as you have such described, in a way that is with reckless abandon to achieve his goals in a way that is conducive to the fact that he thinks he is 100% going to die sometime soon.
Yes.
Okay. Because I think some people have it and some people don't. And I also think when you're 15 or 16, even if you're seeing people die around you, you can have that I'm young and I'm going to never die.
I mean, I'm just repeating myself. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's because they're 15, 16. I think it's stupid in the setting that they're in.
So it's more like okay. You just want to focus on adults here too.
Not just adults, but sort of just like, I don't know. It's just like the setting of being in war is because like the only time I think that somebody like breaks their character a little bit from like the terror of war is Shin when he's fighting his brother. Because like he kind of goes crazy mode where he's just like, and like to me, I feel like Shin was like he's the cold-blooded killer. Like he's stoic, he's calm, cool, collective, and in that moment he sort of like breaks the character that he's been holding in the whole time. And like to me, that's why I think why Shin is like a great character, because like he was putting up like I wouldn't say it's like a facade, but he's obviously putting up a mask in front of the people to show that he's the leader, he's strong, I'm not worried, you guys can follow me, and I think that's great about him. But like he's the only character that like actually to me shows his true colors in the show and really like sort of breaks out of the mold of who the show shows him as versus the character that he actually is in the moment. So I wish we saw something more along like those lines of characters breaking out of the mold that the show presents it as, because I think that they have, because even someone like Anju, who is like, why is she so, she's calm and she's cool and she's sweet and kind, but then I think like one of the important things of like the shower scene is like she's damaged, like she got cut up, she has a bunch of scars and stuff like that, and so like she's hiding something in herself from previous trauma, and I think that that makes perfect sense with her character. Like that's the person who she is. So I guess there's 2 of the 5 characters I think showed the colors that I was looking for in the squadron.
Did the yellow guy show his colors when he cussed out Lena in the 4th episode, and doesn't Raiden show his colors when he? I think Raiden showed.
Well, I'm just disagreeing, but I don't think he does.
I think Raiden shows his colors when he says no to Shin's order. Shin's order to leave him behind or let him go do the thing, and then everyone else can run and hide. I think they all show their own personalities and their own like intensities and their. And like, I don't know, I think that they all get developed very well too, in like these little background moments throughout the scenes, where like the yellow hair guy again, there's so many goddamn names. He's drawing all the time. Theo, thank you. He's drawing all the time. He's drawing, and you see him slowly get more and more close to Lena because he stops drawing her like a pig. You know, like who else? Like Anju, it gets that backstory, like that shower scene, which is also the one that Miles and I were talking about earlier. That is a little like, why are
that part of it is fine because a shower is a great place to show someone's scars along their back. They do focus on her boobs a lot.
Though. A lot. That's what. Well, that was my point.
Yeah,
like
that
was
was
like
the
the
aspect.
anime. That was the anime moment,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like they could have just shown her back and not done anything. But like that scene shows development not only for Anju but also for Karina. You know, they acknowledge the fact that they're the only two women left. They're the only two that are.
I'm not arguing that there's no development. That's not what I'm saying.
I think he just doesn't like the tone.
Yeah, the 100%. Like there's character development. Like that's not the issue. The issue is the characters themselves, who what I think is showing their true colors.
What about that girl who dies immediately? Because like, talking about being stoic and everything, and then she's like, I don't want to die. Like, is that sort of like what you're looking for? That sort of switch in the heat of combat?
Part of that, yes, and part of it, no, because like I legit think episode 4 is terrible. Like I think the whole point of that is to set up like, oh, we're gonna shine lights, because this is a spoiler. They do it for season 2 as well, where they shine the light on supporting characters just to kill them essentially, and I hated that. But yes and no for I think it's episode 3 is I don't want to
3. Yeah, so they do that in 3 and 4. They set someone up, and so when it first happened in 3, the first time I watched it, right, the I don't want to die scene and the amazing direction in that scene, by the way, with like how the music changes and everything, and like how Lena acts to it and everything.
Her voice,
I thought was amazing. Yeah, I thought it like really was powerful. But then the next episode, they introduce a new woman, and then they just kind of do the same thing.
Yeah,
so that sort of took the punch away a little bit.
Me.
Yeah. I kind of wish the deaths had been spread out a little bit more.
Me too.
Because we have the 2 early ones, but they were in episode 3 and 4, and then I don't think anyone else in the Spear Squadron dies.
After the black guy, before we even know
their entire squad, other than the 5 of them, die.
The people that are actively alive at the beginning when Lena takes over.
Yes, lots of people die. The whole point is it's just those 5 left. Like
there was only 7 people when Lena took over.
I think that there's implied that there's more.
They flash back, right, when there were more people. There were more people, 100%, but that was other handlers.
I understand that. I don't think it's just the 7 of them when Lena takes over. I think it's like 10 or 15 of them, and granted, maybe only 7 of them get screen time, but I'm pretty sure that there's more of them that are around.
I think it's more than 7, but I don't think it's a lot.
It's not like it's 100, but it's like there's like 15 or 20 of them, and the whole point of I think of like near the end is that, oh, we're down to our final 5. Fuck it, we're gonna go on our literal suicide mission.
She becomes their handler in episode 2.
Okay, because I think in episode 3, the girl dies, because Daya dies episode 4, and then I think another dude dies in episode 3.
It's the guy that dies in episode 3, where it's like, oh yeah, well, I don't know, we were introduced to most of the squad in episode 3 too, to be fair, I think.
Yeah.
And the whole point is that he dies, and then we get to see how Shin reacts to people dying, what he does for them, how the squadron reacts to it, versus then episode 4 is more about someone, and this is where I'm not bothered by them at all dying in the way that they do. I mean, obviously, again, it's like the most red flag, like scarlet letter ever of her to be like, oh, I like Shin, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the whole point of that death was Lena's fault. She died. That's the first one where it's her fault. She did know the mappy terrain, or the terrain was mossy or swampy. The girl gets trapped in her mech and dies directly because of that. That's the key moment. And then, and of course, it's not all Lena's fault, but she views it that way. And I think that that's the whole purpose of that death. I think most of the time when they do die, there is a lot of purpose behind each of their deaths as well. Like Anju's boyfriend, not boyfriend, but lover dies. What is that to do? Develop Anju a little bit, remind us that there are stakes, and that they're, granted, they may come off as red shirts from Star Trek, but they're also not just invincible. They're not invincible.
The density of it, that's I agree with that 100%, but I think the density of it, after you have that high density and then it completely falls off after episode 4, it makes the remaining people feel more plot armory. And so a minor critique. I'm just like, if you move, some of the deaths from 4 to like episode 6 or 7, I think it just goes a long way for the one. You get to develop these people more. You don't just do the thing where you introduce them for 10 minutes and then they die, which makes the deaths hurt more,
100%.
Because you're right that these deaths affect Lena in a very large way, and we definitely see that. But I also want to feel the death because I'm sad that character is gone, more so than it affects my protagonist, if that makes sense.
That's fair. I also just think that one of the things that the show is trying to do as well with the density of the deaths is Lena takes over at the beginning. They're not a well-oiled machine. They're learning. She's learning. They're learning how to work with her, etc. Then they get a rhythm going. Things are going well. People are dying less. She's focusing on that. She's trying to get to know all of the people in the squadron, etc., learning their names, blah, 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 blah. And then I think by the end of it, when shit starts to hit the fan and they realize that they're just out of resources, they stop getting reinforced, they stop getting repairs that they need, everything stops coming in because it's like, all right, the military decides we're just going to finally send these guys on a literal suicide mission beyond rather than just like
even more like an actual suicide mission as opposed to a very long series of kind of suicide missions.
Right. When that happens, that's when characters start dying again. And it's like, that's the way I took it. But I understand where you guys feel about that, where it's like, oh, it happens suddenly. And then, like you said, it feels like the characters can have plot armor, which valid, I think. But I think that's a pretty valid complaint in a lot of shows and military dramas too, especially mechas where
it's just a pacing thing. I think like an appropriate amount of people die. It's a show. You don't want every character to die, right? Like you want to grow and get attached to people, and you want people to live until the end. So like the protagonists they don't have plot armor. They're the fucking protagonists. You're telling their story. Of course they're going to live most of the time. And shout out to last week.
I was about to say, unless
but most of the time, right? Like it's not but like to me, it was just like if you spread that out a little bit, I think and you can even have it taper off over a slightly longer period of time to show, because I like that point about Lena's skill as a commander. I think that's a good point for why it tapers off, and I think I would just have that be less steep in my.
Hard to do less than 11 episodes, though, too, to be fair.
True, but there's more, so you could extend it. I mean, it's like someone of these 5 is probably going to get it at some point, too, anyway. So, I don't know. Because I've never seen season 2. But
you haven't seen season 2?
No.
No, I know. That was the joke.
But the dog comes back to life, so someone better fucking die. I hope it's me.
You may see someone die in season 2 or part 2. It's part 2. Part 2 is what it's
season
called.
1 is the final.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have anything else more specific that we wanted to talk about around that, or do we feel pretty good? Because I have a couple more positive things I would really like to talk about.
I would like to talk about, and I think this will probably be Pete's favorite part. And Pete, if it's not, tell me to kill myself or whatever. But
I would never.
Okay, thanks, pal. What? But I want to talk about Shin's little arc. With his brother and the revelation of because there are some sci-fi fantasy elements to this that we've literally not touched on at all.
Yep.
With the imprinting of human souls onto the machines and how that affects people, and Shin's ability to hear the thoughts of the Legion due to his brother being one of the being imprinted on a high ranking thing and in that sort of autonomous army. But that I think is sort of separate to Lena's journey and separate from Spearhead Squadron's own journey. Shin gets his own little arc. Did you guys, and we can do this quick because we are coming towards the end, but did you guys like how that was handled? Did you like that? Where do you hope to see Shin's character go in the future?
I generally enjoyed it because that was one of the things that kind of added more stakes to it. Kind of validated the reason why they would fight they would fight to survive rather than just fight because it's the Republic. It may not be the world that they used to live in, but now they can still fight for it because you don't give the oppressed the weapons that you need to fight them with. Like that's another thing. But anyway, like I really like that they were afraid to become monsters. Like they were clinging onto their own humanity in order to not become something that really isn't human. And that gave me a lot of that actually felt really, really it gave a good reason to try and survive.
They didn't want to become part of the an actual autonomous like drone, like what the Republic says they are, which I thought was a very like, just out. It was a very out there and like in your face metaphor, I guess. But I don't know. I thought the motivations of those characters, like what you were just talking about, Kat, a little bit, gets highlighted really well. Though, especially near the end in Shin's arc when they are talking, like Raiden has a great moment. I put this quote in our chat a little earlier. But he's talking about how even though they know that they're on this suicide mission, he's explaining it to Lena that they keep fighting and they all have their own reasons for fighting. Kurina like had her brother. Shin has his brother that he wants to obviously very different reasons put out of his misery is really the a mercy kill. Yeah, like they all have their own motivations. Raiden doesn't care if the Republic lives or dies, but he had and Anju had kindness from a random white pig at one point, so she's fighting for her, and I think she's half-blooded as well, or something like that. Forget exactly how that's the exact details of that. They explore that a little bit more in the second season as well. I really liked that aspect of that scene. But the quote that Raiden says is, even if you know you're going to the gallows, you can choose how high up there you climb. Like, I think that's such a powerful quote for someone that is essentially sentenced to death here, right? They're on death's row. They are just waiting to die. Why not at least try and go out taking a few people swinging? I think it's a very good example of a soldier's mentality, especially in a situation like this as well. In a war, like I don't know, none of us have ever been to war, and God willing, we won't. But like, I think that they did a very good job from the readings I've done of capturing that soldier's growth, change, and mentality in those moments. And I think Shin's is a good example of one too, where he's trying to, I don't know if he's necessarily getting revenge, but he's trying to avenge his brother's death and avenge all of his fallen brethren and while still living, that desire to live, that human desire to survive.
I guess for the world building in terms of like the fantasy elements and the sci-fi elements, I think some of it can be explained. Like I would be more satisfied when I get a better conclusion. It reminds me of like Land of the Illustrious, where like I have some outstanding questions where like we know how the Legion creates more people, but how did the Legion start to begin with? Like I think there's kind of a hint with the communication device that they were using on the 86 and that people died in those experiments, but like did that create like an army? I'm a little confused on like how the Legion actually began as like a whole unit type of thing.
Have you seen season 2?
Yeah.
Or part 2?
I have. It's been like 3 years though, so
they talk about it. So I guess spoiler for part 2, for anyone listening that hasn't seen it yet. They talk about how it was it was from a previous like other empire that they were fighting. It's the remnants of that because basically the AI took over and fought back.
Cool.
That gets discussed in season 1. Even
I also thought that got discussed.
Now I didn't necessarily know if that was true because I mean the government is obviously lying about a bunch of stuff, but that explanation is given.
Just wait till you see season 2.
I guess.
In terms of like also with like the fantasy elements, I think it's cool. It reminds me of something like Live, Die, Repeat, where we have a fantasy element with like humans using mechs type of thing, and that's like my favorite sci-fi of all time. So adding this like fantasy sci-fi element in, like I think once it's expanded more, I think I would like it more. And just in terms of the first part, I thought it was like okay. It left some interesting questions, some mysteries to be solved for later content.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. There's like the leader machines too is like kind of similar to Live, Die, Repeat. There's like a lot of inspiration there, I think. Or I guess in this case, it would probably almost certainly be all you need is kill.
Yeah, for the wings, all you need is kill.
Yeah.
Is that not Edge of Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow is
changed-
based off of All You Need Is Kill.
You need to skill.
Yeah, and Edge of Tomorrow has like 4 different official movie titles because they couldn't ever figure out how to fucking market it.
Yep.
So it was officially Edge of Tomorrow and officially Live Die Repeat, and I think officially Edge of Tomorrow, Live Die Repeat combined,
Yes.
and then something else. But
I like Edge of Tomorrow the most.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
for
that's
sure.
my favorite. Of,
100%.
yeah,
That's the best one. That's what I saw it as too, though. So maybe I'm biased, but that movie's so good.
It's
they're all like
incredible.
the same thing. But
Yeah,
like,
I know.
yeah,
I know.
but I do. It's like a rare movie where Tom Cruise plays someone, and I'm like not aware that it's Tom Cruise.
Which is the best type of Tom Cruise.
Sometimes it is good to be aware that it's Tom Cruise, like in Top Gun.
But in Jack Reacher, it's like this guy is 5'6". Why is
5'5",
he
yeah.
playing this?
Yeah,
Playing
that
like
is-
a 6'5", 300-pound man of muscle.
Yeah, being
He's wearing
5'6"
heels.
lets you fit into a plane easier, but doesn't let you be Jack
the shit out of
Reacher easier.
people.
Yeah.
Alan Richter's so good as Jack Reacher now, man. I don't know if you guys have seen the new Reacher stuff. It is must-watch television. He is the epitome of what Jack Reacher is supposed to be from the books.
Too busy
and it is
watching
so
Chicago
good.
Fire, my man.
I watch both. I find time for both somehow.
I watch anime.
Yes,
that's
I'm like you. I watch
valid.
anime.
I know. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Yeah. I don't know. Did we have anything else before we get to closing thoughts? I guess, like, again, a couple other positives that we would want to talk about, but I can do them in my closing
like the music is great, direction is good, at least from the sense of like how things are shot and everything. I do have some issues with the pacing, but we've discussed those. I did have a very minor complaint based on your sweatshirt, Pat, that I wanted to bring up, and then we can go to final thoughts. So
let's see it.
So when Shin's brother is explaining what his emblem is to Lena when he had met her earlier, he goes, yeah, it's a Doulahan, and the emblem is a headless knight, which is like saying it's a Doulahan. It's a Doulahan.
Yep.
It's very
Like in the language, the
yeah.
translation or
Well,
whatever?
no, just like even in England, like a Doulahan is a headless knight. So it's like the name of it is Doulahan. The emblem is a headless knight is like a weird thing. It doesn't matter at all. It just like very minorly annoyed me.
I mean, I get that, but also like, I don't know. What if I didn't know what a Doulahan was until someone told me, oh, it's the headless horseman. Like it's another name for it's an elf. Oh, it's a fairy. Like, or that's the way I interpreted that. That's a funny.
For sure.
I'll give you that one. That's funny. That is I get the nitpick. Like that's like off-putting on the ears for sure. But yeah, all right. I guess let's do our closing thoughts and final scores. Miles, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I mostly enjoyed my time with this show. I think it's like a pretty easy watch. I think that it's like occasionally a bit ham-fisted in its themes and stuff. Like they really take like this society is like Nazi Germany on steroids, right? Like it's like pretty
surprisingly racist.
Yeah, like even for like media that's supposed to like depict racism, it is like surprisingly racist. Not in like just like those people are never portrayed as good or anything. It's just everyone. But I think that the interactions between the people and the characters can be enjoyable, and I am excited to see where they go. If you're looking for like world building and stuff, I don't think this is the show for you. But if you're looking for just like a good time that has good characterization and is well directed, has a good score and all of that, then I think you will at the very least enjoy the show. I gave the show a 7 when I originally watched it. I'm going to stick with that, though. It's a high 7.
Damn, I almost got you. Well, watch season 2 and your score will go up, I think.
Certainly possible. It's happened before.
Kat, what about you?
Yeah, when I came into this discussion, I was pretty sure I was going to get lower on my score. But my points that I didn't get to were that the sound design is really good. I don't really like the OP that much.
It's Bonds.
And I did like the design of the like the mechs and the Legion. Like those were definitely off-putting, and it actually does harken back to like engineering and good movement. And it also made sense the way that the machines actually broke down instead of it instead of it just like falling down, like a leg would fall off. Like it made more sense than like
a Gundam where they're shaped like humans for some reason, even though that's not the most efficient way to move around, right? Like,
exactly.
I guess would that be like a good counterpoint? Yeah.
Yeah. But one of the things that I really did not expect to turn around was my view on the 86. I really did end up enjoying most of the cast in the 86. I really just felt like the handler was kind of hand-fisted and dumb and annoying until the last couple of episodes. With that being said, I came into this show expecting to give the show a 4. I'll give it a 6.
That's technically, I think that's the highest jump we've ever had because we're a stubborn bunch. I don't think we've ever had a 2-point jump from the conversation. I think we've had 1-point jumps and 1-point drops. I don't think we've ever had a 2.
Way to go.
Wow. All right. Pete, what about you?
Yeah, I guess in these types of military style shows, I'm looking for a little bit more grit and a little less.
Yeah.
I don't know. Insert high school, a little less Origairu, a little less high school, the elite type of thing. It's scenes where like Shin, like really letting out his emotions against his brother would be something I'm looking forward to more in these style of shows rather than just what was presented to me in general. But I also want to apologize to everyone who thought I was going to shit on the show like all the time. I do really think that the show has a lot of great elements to it. The soundtrack to me is a huge standout. I think it's a fantastic soundtrack. The combat is really fun. I do like how the Shin can kind of maneuver his spider mech a little bit better than everybody else. And it kind of makes sense why he's like the ace. Reminds me, you brought up Top Gun. He's like the ace of a Top Gun regiment type of thing. It makes sense why people would like follow him as a leader, even if he's not officially the leader. I'm Mimic Cat. I think this OP is absolute buns. It sounds like a My Hero Academia opening. I think it's super, super bad, like straight up. But like the animation solid. I just don't think 86 does something better than any other Gundam mech show, drama war, political drama than anything else. So like I kind of based off of the other shows I've seen before. I think I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay. What I'll say is, I think you guys have just made me like the OP more, which I was like fine with.
Well,
I'm
you're
like,
a hater. That makes sense.
This is a good OP, and then you guys were like, "This is the worst OP ever."
I legit think it's buns, like straight up buns. It sounds like if you took all of the My Hero Academia OPs and put it into an AI generator and say make a new My Hero Academia OP off of these OPs, it would put out this OP. Like that's what it sounded like to me.
I feel like at minimum a 7 out of 10.
Close your eyes and picture yourself that you're watching season 4 of My Hero Academia, and you're just starting episode 1, and be like, "Oh yeah, this is a My Hero Academia OP for sure."
See, my issue with the OP,
I like some of the My Hero.
Yeah, me too. But that's the thing. I think it reflects My Hero Academia. I'm looking for like, fist to your chest. Attack on Titan, like
I'm gonna send you the Iron-Blooded Orphans.
Give me some orchestra. Give me some fucking give me some trumpets. Give me some drums. Give me just like war. It's just like
that does happen.
Hey, let's go to Class 1A and fight the villains. Yay!
I feel like that does happen in the OP.
No, this is like a pop punk song.
It's like hard rock. I feel like that reflects
hard rock. That is not hard rock.
At certain parts of it is, I think. And
sure.
I remember
parts, but
I wasn't
not
ready
the full theme.
I wasn't ready to go to like fucking war.
Let us know in the comments whether you think this OP is buns or good.
I wasn't like my goal was thinking of the ED more than anything else. The ED is fucking phenomenal. I thought it should have been up for ED of the year. I can't remember if it was when we did our awards a few years ago. I love the card arts they used with the ED as well. At the end, like cutting to it. They do it a lot more in season 2 or part 2. It's so good. I loved it. Oh my God. The music in this show in general is fire. Is just so good. Just like what Kat was saying earlier, the sound design I think is incredible. like the bullets ricocheting, the sounds of the cannons. Like they do a really good job with. I don't know. I have surround sound headphones on. They were whizzing past my ear. It was great. One thing that I think that we didn't really cover, that we kind of hinted at the beginning of the podcast, but I'll just cover it quickly. I personally think that Lena's friend is shown to just be a coward. I think she's a coward. She's not a racist. She's a coward, and just someone who's swept up in the times and is a good soldier following orders. Which is valid if you think that she's worse. I think that she is a pretty good example of a lot of the Germans or anybody who's ever been a part of a fascist regime just kind of going with it and saying, you know what, even though I know this is wrong, I can't stop it myself and there's no one else trying to do it. And I think you're supposed to dislike her. So I don't think that that's like a knock on the show that she is like that.
Oh, I didn't think it was a knock on the show. I think you're supposed to hate her, and I do.
Yeah, I feel like that's valid. All right, fair enough. I think the combat is really, really good as well. I think we kind of touched on it a tiny bit. Sorry, Kat, I'll let you go in a second. I've just wanted to get through my thoughts before I finish, before I forgot them. The combat is not only just really sick, but it's a good example of like good CGI. The mechs are CGI.
It was better than I remembered. It wasn't great, but I remembered it being ass, and it was good.
That's how I felt too, Miles, when I rewatched it, because I was like that was one of my knocks when I first watched the show. I guess we've just seen so many shows that have really shitty CGI.
We just recently watched Uma Musume, so like maybe them walking towards the entry gate as like the literal like
robots.
Original T-pose like model with just like floating forward.
Maybe we're a little less sensitive to it just because we've watched more shows with CGI now. I don't know, but it was better than I remembered it being as well. I wouldn't call it great CGI and like unnoticeable, but it again, I guess it's just how it is with mechas and idol anime for some reason. Those two, like. And yeah, I love this show. One of my favorite shows to come out within the last like 5 years. I think I cannot wait for there to be more of it. I think the second season just continues to improve on it, and there's a pretty big twist that happens in season 2 that I think you guys will enjoy, especially those of you that are talking with some of your complaints about season 1. So I think that it will just continue to get better, and I hope we get more of it soon. I have this at a 9 out of 10. I just adore it. It made me feel a lot of emotions the first time I watched it that a good war drama and political drama do. And so, yeah, I'm going to stick with that score. But I do understand why people don't like love it as much as I do. I think it just hit pretty close to home for me, coming from a bit of a military family and things like that.
What was the number?
9.
I gave it a 9, which averages our score out to a 7.0. So we are 86 haters, apparently, unfortunately, at this podcast or in this watch club. Like I said at the beginning, the first season score on Mal is a 8.31, and the second season is like an 8.7. So it's, I guess that always happens with sequels, but like it's a very well liked show. I guess we liked it a little less than the normies, but yeah, the normies, yeah. Very facetious comment there as someone who also liked it as much as the normies. So, yeah, let's that wraps up our discussion of 86 part 1 though. So Miles, what did we end up choosing to watch next episode?
Yeah, really quick, if the plot twist is that those other countries they say have all been destroyed or not destroyed, I'm going to be annoyed because of course they aren't. That's not how anything works.
Might be part of the plot twist, but no, I'd like you to.
There could be more to it. That's fine. Then I'll be happy. If that is the singular plot twist, I will be annoyed.
No, there's a very, very big twist that I don't expect you to see coming. So yeah, watch it. Let's find out.
Okay. We'll get around to it. As the weight of what I have to do crushes me. Okay. So third place, we had Oh Maidens of their Savage season. That's coming in at third, and it gets its 4th legacy point. Earning its first legacy point is Terror in Resonance. And then we will be watching Rakugo Shin.
Woo! Finally! Let's go.
So, yes. Pete, you get the dub there.
I heard nothing but great things about this show, so I cannot wait to dive into it.
I think it seems so fucking dull, but I have heard good things and I've been wrong before. So...
I also have heard nothing but good things, but I can also see it just being boring, like what happened with
March comes in like a
March comes in like a lion. So I am
which I fucking loved.
like I am trepidatiously excited for it. I don't know.
Oh my god,
We'll have to see.
That's what 86 was missing. It was missing a sixth member who was just really sad. He was so good at shogi.
Fair enough.
It was missing
All
a
right,
shogi commercial with all the cats.
Yeah. All right. For so long.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk about what we're nominating now for a few weeks from now. It'll be the first week of December when we watch this, but I don't think it's time for Christmas stuff yet. So, Miles, what are you nominating for Watch Club?
Yeah, I'm a man of the people. And there are two shows that they're lumped together very often, and we've watched one of them.
You can't steal my show.
Yeah, I can.
No, you can't.
I can't.
No, you can't.
You were supposed to come with a second show.
I do have a second one, but I've called this for months.
You have. And I would like to give a shout out to Preston, who reminded me that you had called this and inspired this exact moment.
If this wins, it's my win. This is my win. You can nominate, but this is for me.
Nominated it before, Pete?
No, but I've said 100 times.
No one has ever nominated
as soon as Rakugo wins, I am nominating this show. I said,
and as the person who gave the source material of this the highest score on our podcast, I think this is clear nomination for me. I'm going to nominate Bang Dream. It's my go.
You should. Okay. You know. I'm not. You know what? You know what?
What were you going to say, Pete? What were you going to say?
I'm not going to say nothing, but Miles, I heard you are very good at reading minds. I want you to read my mind right now. Yep, that's what I was thinking. Yep,
okay.
Yep.
Oh, is this I was like, how is this anything related to Rakugo Shinju? Oh, it's related to Girl Band Cry or whatever we watched.
Yes.
Girl Band Cry?
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
Japan does not have plurals.
Yeah, Kat. So really, you're kind of being
English
racist
does.
right now. I mean, come on. Like, I was being woke. Thank you, Kat. Kat, what show do you have next? Yeah, this is my brain's tired. I'm so I haven't eaten today. Please, let's move it. Kat, go ahead.
I am going to nominate something because I feel like I'm going to hate myself if I do, but I feel it's going to be a discussion. 86 Part 2.
Damn it. I was going to nominate that. Yes. Make Miles watch it. All right, Miles, I'm DMing you my first place vote right now. Can you guess what it is?
Bang Dream.
Yes. Well done. Reading minds over here. Thank you, Kat. I was going to nominate that, but now I'm glad I don't have to.
I know that,
the discussion was good today. I thought we had fun. I had fun.
I want to see why she dyes her hair. That's what I want.
You will see. Oh, you will see. You will see.
And it looks
really
like she
good.
stains it in the blood of her enemies.
If she actually does that, it's probably going to be an 8.
I'll give it a 10. If the streak is red for the blood of her enemies, you've heard it here first. The show gets a 10.
She does go to the real battlefield, so we'll see.
Yeah, how brave! That's admirable. That's one of my favorite quotes from Game of Thrones is Jon Snow goes to the wall, if you haven't seen it, and he's like a half lord. He's like a bastard, but he comes from a royal family. And so someone's like, "Oh, someone like makes your fires for you. Oh, you're a little lordling." And he's like, "I made my own fires." And the commander's like, "How admirable!" It's just very like,
well, the poor guy can't win.
Hit it with a cool story, bro.
I love it. Yeah, it's like,
yeah, that is funny. No, she does a lot, and you'll see. Pete, what about you? What have you got?
Well, I guess I can knock out the next show that I was planning on nominating after Bang Dream. I'm going to nominate. It's from the same director who did Link Click. I'm going to be nominating Ringing Fate.
never even heard of this.
That other Chinese show that's getting really popular now. Right?
I don't think it's popular at all. It has a
it is a 6.88.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, then what were you guys talking about a few days ago or is that just us talking about it because we
another Dongwa? I don't think there's any Dongwas on the radar right now.
I saw it mentioned in like the anime chat like a few days ago.
Oh, I think it was because Pete showed his stats and it rounded his China things to 0%, even though it's not 0. And so they were talking about Chinese made anime then. So that might have been the thing.
Gotcha. Alrighty. And yeah, I guess I'll just re-up High School of the Dead then, because man, now we've got I guess only 2 shows that I would be really happy to see win.
I don't know
the Chinese one is interesting though.
High School of the Dead dominates our YouTube voting by like a gazillion. As of right now, 163 votes, 46% of them are High School of the Dead. Like, I don't know why, but that show hits the algorithm.
Yeah, it does, and it should. Well, it's actually one of the places you can watch it, I think, now that I think about it.
It's on YouTube?
Or there are clips. I think so, and there are a lot of
clips are on YouTube.
Yeah, great show. Please, we'll watch it eventually. I would like to win something again. Again, here's my sad plea that I haven't won in a very long time. So
you can count the 86 win for you.
I don't want to. I didn't nominate it, so it doesn't count. And one day we'll watch Princess Principal. Goddamn it!
One day,
one of these days.
I vote for it.
I know, not enough people do apparently, and I get it. It's not popular, so that's fine. But yeah, High School of the Dead's
movies
popular.
when they come out. They're an hour long. I have a good time. Except for I didn't like the first one, but the other ones have been good.
Also, nobody has
always
heard
do
of
that.
Princess Principal, so
Right? No,
thanks
of course.
Amazon.
Our first episode.
It was our
First episode was Made in Abyss.
Yeah, it would.
Oh yeah.
Second.
Speaking of which, do not watch that episode.
We were fine. We weren't very good.
It's so bad. It was so bad, man.
We get
It was
better.
a little rough. We're still working on it.
Yeah,
We'll get there someday.
It's a process.
5 years later, you know. But yeah, I guess that wraps up Watch Club. Speaking of which, after an hour and a half of talking plus. So thank you guys for listening to the second long episode week in a row. And Pete, close us out.
Yes, if you have made this far and you want to support us, the best way to do so, like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on whatever platform you're watching or listening to us on. Next week is our Thanksgiving episode. Looking forward to that. What we're thankful for in terms of anime shit. Should be fun. It's gonna be a makeshift episode. Otherwise, if you're here for Watch Club, we will see you in 2 weeks for season 1 of Rakugo Shinju. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.